Got sidetracked on the mad musings, so Aeon Trinity got put on the back burner while I worked on about a dozen other projects, but no longer. It's time to get back on track, so it's time to talk about one of White Wolf's better RPGs and one with a surprisingly complicated history. I'm Mr. Welch, and it's time to play Psychics in Space with White Wolf's Aeon Trinity. I call it Aeon Trinity, but the game is technically called Trinity after the original name Aeon triggered a lawsuit by Viacom over the similarity to Aeon Flux. Well, after seeing the movie, I would be glad to have my game not associated with that craptastic piece of cinema. Unfortunately, the lawsuit forced a name change, which totally screwed up with the naming convention of the game system, which included Aberrant and the single-book RPG Adventure. Each game was supposed to have an alliterative name, but instead of getting the awesome acronym A, we get AT, which isn't nearly as awesome. Trinity was the 1997 brainchild of Andrew Bates that was written in only 10 months during a relatively light production schedule for White Wolf. It was a dramatic departure from the world of darkness that White Wolf was known for, because despite being a dark future game, it's a solid sci-fi with not much of a supernatural feel. All of the powers in the game come from hard science. No one's born a psychic. They have to be transformed through a scientific process called the Prometheus effect. Throw in some lasers, spaceships, and living technology, and you've got a solid sci-fi RPG. The background of the game is that the world is recovering from a series of devastating attacks from what can best be described as mutant superheroes gone mad. Trinity starts decades after the game Aberrant ends, and in Aberrant, people developed superpowers, only their powers kept changing them until many of them went mad and their powers became unstoppable. The Aberrants then wrought mass destruction on the world, like destroying the internet and every computer connected to it, wiping Florida off the map with a chain of Cat 5 hurricanes in the space of a few days, or turning the entire Great Plains region into a dust bowl for decades. Then they all pack up and leave, and when China threatens to nuke them all no matter where they're hiding. Fast forward several decades, humanity discovers a method to give certain people psychic powers. These are called scions, and their acceptance in society ranges from hero worship to abject hatred. Not every human is capable of gaining psychic powers. They have to be tested first. If they are capable, they are sorted into one of the various psychic orders. The stronger they test for psychic potential, the more specialized the order they qualify for. They do have some say in who they work for, but tremendous pressure is made on them to join the order they best qualify for. There is a caveat with that. If they are recruited by one order but tested stronger for another order, they will often trade favors, so you'll get telepathy training to work and sent to work with the Vitakinetics, and they'll return the favor to the telepaths in the future. It's uncommon, but it's not impossible. Impossible. Okay, each order specializes in a specific psychic power, as well as set up in a different style and geographic region. The legions are the most numerous. They have telekinesis, and they have cryokinesis and pyrokinesis. They're set up like a military organization over in Australia. The Ministry are telepaths, and they are set up as a department of the Chinese government. Orgatech is an American corporation that consists of electrokinetics. The Asclepian Order are the medics, who can rebuild bodies and minds, and they're based out of Switzerland as a hospital. The Norsa are known for being drug-dealing shape changers working out of Brazil. Isra is the only order not found on Earth, being mostly based on the moon. They're more of a commune that specializes in clairvoyance. Two orders were lost. In an act of treachery, the other orders exterminated the Chitrabanu for colluding with the Aberrants. Not much is known about the order. They were long dead by the start of the game. Their psychic powers dealt with enhancing or negating other psychic powers. The Upio Wamacho were the teleporters that were based out of Africa until they left, thinking that the other orders were trying to betray them, like the Chitrabanu. They came back quickly in the game, being one of the first source books released. The game itself is trademark White Wolf. Character generation is the priority system back from the world of darkness, with the standard 9 slots divided by social, mental, and physical traits. You've got the same division in skills, and of course there's willpower. The mandatory White Wolf supernatural fuel in this game is psi, which controls your psychic powers. It determines how much biotech or living psychic devices that you can connect to your body before bad things happen. Your order determines which 3 psychic powers you can get. You can buy other order psychic powers, but you can only get them at level 1. You can't raise them. And of course, you get your backgrounds and freebie points to spend any way you want, exactly like other World of Darkness games. As far as mechanics go, it's almost like the same other White Wolf games, with one major difference that the target number for successes is locked at 7, rather than a sliding scale like Vampire or Street Fighter. This version became standard for later versions of White Wolf games, though it did change other games to match itself. The mechanic did lead to some weird instances where a heavy weapon rolls badly and completely whiffs a direct hit, but a minor hit with a knife can decapitate a chromatic if every die is a success. The game's backstory is its strength and was one reason it was so well received. The world is pretty ravaged when the game starts. Nuclear is half-nuclear wasteland from a crashed space station. America is run by a fascist government that despises scions and still suffers from the aberrant that destroyed the Great Plains as well as Florida. Asia is dominated by China's paranoia. Japan's become completely isolationist. Australia has become a superpower by default, but it doesn't hurt that the legions are viewed as the first line of defense against the aberrants. A large portion of the game happens off-world, and there are several planets that were colonized before the UPO disappeared that have just now been reconnected with the invention of faster-than-light capable spacecraft. Each of the off-world colonies handled the loss of contact differently. Some nearly starved to death, others gained assistance from unknown alien benefactors. Several worlds became self-sufficient but are dealing with aberrant or alien attacks. A large theme of the game is reestablishing contact with the lost world, especially with the return of the UPO. Each world has its own particular set of problems, from a rebellious colony that rejects the original founders, to one under siege by aberrants, to another mining colony that's always under constant attack by the chromatics. There's a lot of quality bad guys in the game, as well as a lot of mysteries that need solving. The true origins of the Scions are revealed in an adventure, as well as the motives of several alien races are revealed as well. Conspiracies are a major part of the game, from the evil of the new U.S. government trying to find a way to eliminate Scions, the dark secrets of some of the more popular psionic orders, to exactly why the orders turned on the Chitrubanu and the UPO Wamacho. Investigation is just as important, if not more, than many combat skills in many of the Aeon Trinity adventures. Add to this mix of aliens, conspiracies, and psychic orders, and you got the titular Aeon Trinity, an extra-governmental organization designed to help the Scions, especially those who have had to leave their orders to find new lives in the private sector. Most of the orders don't control the lives of the members, with the exception of the Norsa and the Ministry, who try to control all aspects of their Scions' lives. Orgatech and Asclepians treat their Scions exactly like employees. The Legions have their members enlist just like normal military. The Israns are a commune. You can join or leave at any time without telling anybody. The UPO are a bit more complicated, having fled Earth, but some took issue with their leadership and they left the Order when they returned. For those seeking a new life and they're outside their Order, Aeon Trinity is there to help. The organization is the suggested start for a new group. They serve as sort of a liaison between all the orders. You can serve as a guiding force for a mixed order party, providing information or even intelligence if necessary, even providing firepower on rare occasions. They've got no jurisdictional power, but with the help of the Scions, they can provide whatever power the group is authorized to have. They have their own secrets, and they serve as a source of adventures for the party. As far as aliens, there's a fair amount to choose from. The Quinn are a race of slug-like creatures that inhabit humanoid biosuits that serve as humanity's closest allies. They're enigmatic, but they're friendly. A lot of adventures with them are trying to improve relations or understand their unusual politics. They experience quite a bit from the aberrant attack, sometimes that strains relations with Earth. The Coalition is a strange race that is located on a spaceship headed towards Earth on a collision course. The Coalition may seem to be several races, but they're in fact one highly mutable species. Their entire species is a mystery, and their motives are kept highly secret. They are exposed in one of the adventure trilogies, but have a high potential because so little is known about them. The third major race is the Chromatics, resembling giant gecko men with the ability to create lasers with psychic powers. They're a major threat in the campaign, appearing in multiple adventures. They actually undergo a change in loyalty in the adventures when the characters expose the true power behind their leadership. A fourth race appears late in the metaplot, the Doyen. They reveal themselves as the true power players, having manipulated most of the races to do their bidding. They're very much behind the scenes, but they are the driving force for a massive chunk of the metaplot. The major bad guys in the Trinity world are the Aberrants. They range in power from extremely powerful tanks to almost gods. Taking one down is a difficult task for an entire group of Scions, a death sentence for usually a single character. Humans are no match for them without heavy firepower. They designed advanced battle suits called Vargs, specifically for killing Aberrants. The highest power Aberrants outclass all but the original Scions, and even then the odds are on the side of the Aberrant. The most powerful proxy can fly while throwing fire and turning ice or blood to ice. One Aberrant destroyed an entire state in the course of a day. They are primarily used as boogeymen and rarely actually get into a fight except in very specific situations because of their power level. The Trinity game unfortunately left the players with a cliffhanger ending, as the game was cancelled after the second adventure trilogy, with the Coalition arc rapidly approaching Earth, while the Isran proxy claimed Earth was going to be missing in the future. In addition, the Aberrants have decided that it's time to reclaim Earth and restore themselves to be the true masters of humanity. All the major points were coming to a head when suddenly the inkwell ran dry. Now the game's been funded through a Kickstarter, so we might have a lot of answers to more than a few questions soon. Of the three games in the Aeon setting, Trinity was easily the best written of the three. Adventure was a single book in the Indiana Jones pulp style. Aberrant was a superhero game with a theme of risk versus reward, as the superheroes who push their powers too hard start to mutate and go mad. That game was also known for the author shoving his politics into the game to the point of infusing them into the actual plot of the game. Even people on his side of the political spectrum found his writing to be heavy-handed. Even people who liked his writing couldn't help but notice the gay characters tended to be very powerful. Mary Sue's, and the author's own character was the greatest Nova ever who could do no wrong. Every conservative or religious type is a hypocrite, closeted gay, or doomed to be humiliated. Trinity managed to have multiple decent storylines and let the players push the meta plot instead of letting the background characters do it for them. Getting the game is pretty easy. It still goes for market value at secondhand bookstores and can be even found at some game stores still. There's two versions of the main book, the Binder Aeon book and the traditional Trinity book. There's a lot of splat books, though the Asian and the Ministry book never got released. The book was released as an ebook later with some other additional supplements to the game. There's two adventure trilogies as well as some small fluff books that talk about the everyday goings on. Add in a technology book and the player's handbook and you can get the whole series for about $200. All the books on DriveThruRPG is PDFs, but if you want to grab them that way, they're going to be quite expensive for PDFs. The cost of the hard copy usually isn't much more than the price of the PDF. If you're looking for a sci-fi game, Trinity straddles the line between hard and soft. It's pretty dark for a setting, but you're coming out of the worst of the times and the game is being cautiously optimistic. Everybody's got superpowers, but they aren't over the top and death is still a real possibility in most fights, unless you're Norsa because their entire shtick is not dying. Assault rifles do as much damage in Trinity as pyrokinesis, and there's a lot more riflemen than there are psychic flamethrowers. You can even play humans that obviously don't get psychic powers, but they do get a lot more freebie points to compensate. Humans start off slightly weaker in stats and skills than Scions, but quickly surpass them in stats and skills because psychic powers are expensive while skills aren't. So while Psychers are trying to buy their fourth dot in the ability to fold space, a human character has maxed out 3 skills for the same price. Humans also have an extreme resistance to psychic backlash, an effect that can hurt Psychers, but without a Psi rating you're generally safe. There's a lot of possible campaigns in Trinity. Ignoring the suggested Aeon troubleshooters I mentioned, you can be government agents, everybody can work for just a single order, even have freelance mercenaries. Team building is extremely important because Scions can't copy other powers very well. You aren't going to go world hopping without a jump ship, and those are extremely rare. Teleporting from planet to planet is possible, but only at the highest levels of power. If you want to do high levels of play, you can always just hop on a Biovarg and go fight Aberrants. There's a complete war between Aberrants and humans on Kangzi Lugi if you want to go one all guns blazing. So when you're making all your characters, everybody needs to agree on what you're planning on running before the game starts so everybody's happy. That's Aeon Trinity. It's a good game that does have the White Wolf trademark meta plot, but allows it to be driven by the players. Mechanically, it's a classic World of Darkness style with some minor modifications to incorporate the sci-fi elements. It's not galaxy-spanning omnibus like Traveler, but it's also not super hard science that keeps you stuck in the solar system. The psychic powers make the PCs better than the stock humans, but not by much. Got a well-written background, which carries over the game, as well as some dark secrets that are more embarrassing than instead of discovering you were secretly working for Space Hitler. It's a game that died too soon, left us hanging for 20 years about what happened with the Coalition invasion. The new Kickstarter is relaunching the entire line, but I don't know much of the details for that. Okay, so next time I'm going to be talking about Numenera, Monty Cook's extremely far-fetched sci-fi game. By far-fetched, I mean it's taking Arthur C. Clarke's technology is the same as magic quote as its core belief, as the game is set on Earth billions of years in the future. It's relatively new, and it's known for being a weird one. So until next time, remember, it's bad form to clean your pistols during sensitivity training.